Well, hi folks. So we all know Hōne Heke chopped down the flagstaff on Maiki Hill in the Bay of Islands in 1845 and started the Northern War. But today I've got a question for you. What flag did Hōne Heke fly from his waka during the Northern War? Well, you might be surprised. Does it matter? I think it might. Anyway, this is another fascinating story I cover in my book, One Sun in the Sky, The Untold Story of Sovereignty and the Treaty, and thousands of New Zealanders have read it now, and I'll tell you at the end how you can get your copy. But let's get down to business. So, what was the flag that Hōne Heke was flying from his waka during the Northern War? Let's do some time travel and find out. So the source for today is this book here. It's The New Zealand Wars and the Pioneering Period, Volume 1. It's written by James Cowan, who is a historian. And on this question we're looking at today, Cowan actually quotes directly from a letter written on the 10th of January in 1845. That was the day that Hōne chopped down the flagstaff for the second time. And on that day, the magistrate in the Bay of Islands, Thomas Beckham, actually wrote to Governor Fitzroy to explain to him the events that unfolded. And here's what Beckham wrote. He writes, "It is with regret that I have to inform your excellency that John Heke and his tribe cut down the flagstaff soon after daylight this morning, but without doing any violence to the Europeans or even entering the town. The reason for his again offering this insult seems to be a general dislike to the British government, and it is worthy of remark that Heke was at the American consul's yesterday, when the merits of the Treaty of Waitangi and other political subjects connected with this colony were discussed, after which he obtained an American ensign, which was hoisted on board his canoe immediately after our flagstaff was destroyed. Under what circumstances this flag was given, I am now unable to say, but at this present crisis, it looks suspicious, and is at the very least, or at the least, very ill-judged. It is reported, but with what truth I cannot affirm, that Heke's ultimate intention is to pull down the jail and public offices. This bad disposition does not appear to be prevalent among the natives generally." And that final comment is interesting because it suggests that there wasn't widespread support among local Māori for Heke's actions, but you wouldn't know that today. Anyway, the main point here, what was the flag that Heke flew after chopping down the flagstaff? It was the American flag, the Stars and Stripes. And actually Beckham goes on to describe how he wrote further letters later in January saying that Heke continued to fly the Stars and Stripes as he sailed throughout the Bay of Islands. Now, this is a little surprising because today we're told that what Heke wanted was the dual sovereignty partnership apparently agreed to in the treaty 5 years earlier. What he wanted to see was two flags flying on the flagstaff, the Union Jack and the flag of the United Tribes, in a demonstration of that partnership. And the reason he chopped down the flagstaff and started the Northern War was because that wasn't happening. Well, no one seems to have told Hōne, because if that was the case, you would expect to see him sailing around the Bay of Islands, flying the flag of the United Tribes. You would expect him you'd expect him to hear from him saying to the governor, hey, you're not flying the United Tribes flag. We have equal partnership agreed to in the treaty. Why aren't we flying both flags? But he's not doing that because he never understood the treaty in that way. Instead, he's flying the Stars and Stripes because what Heke wants at this moment is not partnership, it's rebellion. He wants to throw off British rule, and that's why he's flying the Stars and Stripes. Just as the Americans had thrown off Crown or British rule, he wanted to do the same. Now, I suppose he had his reasons. And I don't really have time to go into those in great detail today. Suffice to say, they had very little to do with an idealised understanding of the treaty as some equal power sharing relationship, and they had more to do with some very practical matters. The economy in the Bay of Islands had collapsed when they moved the capital to Auckland, and that had led to a fall in land values, and that would have affected him. There was customs duties imposed on shipping, and that pushed up prices. And it also meant fewer ships were coming to the Bay of Islands. And the ones that did still come now refused to pay Heke the £5 toll that he had previously managed to extract from them. So you can see why he was aggrieved. And, of course, he was hanging out with some Americans who were stirring the pot, some expats who didn't like the Poms. And through all that, he basically lost trust in the British, and he decided that he no longer wanted to come under Crown sovereignty. He was going to renege on the agreement that he'd made, and he wanted the British gone. And he said as much, actually. He called the treaty a rat trap, and he wanted them to go home. So he wanted to cast off British rule, just like the Americans had. And that's why he started our first civil war under the banner of the Stars and Stripes. Not that he wanted US sovereignty, of course, it's just that he wanted the British gone. Now, you may say, well, Ewan, why are you telling us these stories in your book and in this video? Well, we've had conflict in our country before, and I don't want to see that again. I want unity in our country, kotahitanga. And unity doesn't mean that we all have to be the same. We can celebrate our differences. We can learn from each other. As Aparana Nata said, we are equal citizens, if not identical citizens. And we can also, seek ways for greater self-determination for Māori and indeed all New Zealanders. Good government doesn't actually try and control people. Good government seeks opportunities for people to prosper and flourish. It gives people space. But seeking opportunities for greater self-determination is not the same as promoting this falsehood that the treaty established two equal competing sovereignties in New Zealand. And doing that actually promotes the risk of further conflict in our country. Hōne Heke was not some hero promoting partnership. He was a chief who reneged on his prior commitment to come under Crown sovereignty and started a war in which many people died. And we don't want that spirit in our country again. Anyway, that's it for today. Get the book, One Sun in the Sky. It's got a whole chapter devoted to the Northern War. It's got some more interesting and surprising facts. You'll love it. There's a link there to the website where you can get it online. And of course, subscribe, like the channel, subscribe, because I do intend to bring out some more stories about our history, and I think you'll enjoy those too. So I will see you in the next one.